Greetings, sirs and madams, I'm Straffic Zero, and today we're going to talk about some news articles for Monster Hunter Wilds. Now, if you haven't been following, Monster Hunter Wilds has been announced for 2025. Basically, it's going to be a next-gen Monster Hunter game. It will not be available on PS4 or the older Xbox. I can't keep all the Xbox names straight anymore. But yeah, they're specifically developing it for the next-gen consoles and for PC. It's going to have a simultaneous worldwide release and crossplay. So lots of very, very good developments out of the game so far. And just a little while back, the game it had a hands-off demo at Summer Games Fest. And a few people were able to observe this demo. I won't be really reporting on these accounts because, to be honest, these type of secondhand accounts aren't very reliable in my opinion. And then a lot of the observers, A, they're journalists, and you know how reliable those guys, and then B, most of them are casuals to the franchise, so they might not really be able to spot things that are important, or they might just be seeing things out of context, things like that. So I will not be covering those secondhand accounts here in this video today. I think let's go ahead and wait for that type of information to be available directly to us, and then we'll kind of see from there. But after Summer Games Fest, a lot of these news sites were able to get interviews with the developers. Like we have the director, the producer, and a couple of those guys. So today we're just going to do a few quick hits over these articles and see what type of details we can glean out of this. And yeah, let's just run through this together. Yeah, so we're not going to go through these articles word for word. We're just going to quickly hit some points that I find really important for gameplay and things like that. So let's see what we can find. So first off, we have IGN. Here the developers say that they added human language for the Palicos because there's going to be a lot happening in the environment, and they wanted a support character to be able to provide information to the hunter. And of course, there could be multiple characters speaking, and they didn't want to have just like one character yammering everything. That would be really annoying. So yeah, that's the reason why they decided to have the Palico speak in full language to you as well. Of course, here they confirm that you can change the audio for the Palico to have it speak in the same way as in the older games. So yeah, all of us older hunters can have it that way instead. Here the interviewer is asking if there are any weapons in the game that have received major overhauls. The developers confirm that the two bowgun types, light and heavy bowgun, received the most drastic changes. And then there's also a lot of changes to Hunting Horn. It seems that the Hunting Horn moveset will be back to the version we had in World and Iceborne instead of the completely different version that we had in Rise and Sunbreak. And then a lot of changes on top of that. So yeah, we're gonna go back to classic as far as I can tell. It looks like in multiplayer the story mode will be very similar to how it operated in World. Now, of course, World's like story co-op was extremely weird and clunky. That was one of the main reasons I just soloed most of the game. So it looks like you'll have to witness certain scenes in solo first before you can actually summon other hunters in with you, like during multiplayer. And I can understand why they do this. It's because, you know, certain scenes, like you can't witness like a story unfolding and stuff unless you get to certain parts of the map or you do certain exploration or things like that. But yeah, how are you supposed to be able to do that if, you know, let's say you have like 4 different hunters and they're all wandering in different parts of the map? You can't really control for that very well. I mean, I guess you can have the other 4 players just teleport there upon like one player triggering the scene or something like that, but I would say that is highly immersion breaking, and that's definitely something I don't think the developers are looking to do. But yeah, here you're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place. Like, do you lean more towards immersion or easy gameplay? So yeah, they kind of made their decision here. But they do say that the system they used in World was kind of really clunky and unpleasant, but they've done their best to make it much more convenient. Okay, here we have an interview conducted by Games Radar with the developers. Maps are twice as big. Devs reiterate that the Sacred has a weapon pouch to allow you to change weapons on the fly. You'll be able to take 2 weapons with you in the field. However, you cannot change your armor while you're sortying. These can only be changed while you're at camp. They have some type of secret horseshit about us being able to use 2 different weapons at the same time. The developers confirm that you don't have to have 2 different weapons. You can bring 2 of the same type, although they recommend that you bring 2 different tools of different niches to give yourself more adaptability when you're out on the field. Yeah, so for me, I'm definitely going to be taking 2 lances. Probably one that's going to be raw or element, and definitely a support weapon like status, something like that. Yeah, here the developers discuss focus mode, which they're distinctly describing it as not a lock-on camera. From what they're describing, it seems to behave a lot more like it's more like a reticle mode or an aiming mode. It's just a way to direct the camera more specifically. And as far as I can tell, the way they're describing it, this already existed in World and Iceborne. You could do it with any weapon, but mostly the bowgun users were the ones, I guess bow too. I don't know anything about bow, but yeah, the ranged weapons could aim using the L2 button, and yeah, basically it just let you have like a better line of sight for where you're aiming your attacks, and then you would aim attacks like specifically where you're pointing your reticle, and then pretty much. Yeah, I know that the lance could utilize that mechanic as well in World and Iceborne. You can actually, direct where you're aiming like a guard poke. It wasn't terribly useful in that game, but yeah, just so you know, like, this isn't something crazy new, but yeah, they're hoping that it's gonna be a bit of a bridge for players who aren't really used to the positioning and distance control in Monster Hunter yet. It's kind of a way to kind of bridge that gap. Like, they're definitely saying that you don't have to use it, but it's there. Focus mode also makes it so that when you wound a monster, the wounds will they'll be highlighted in focus mode, so you know where to aim. And then also, there are specific attacks that you can only do inside focus mode. There seems to be like a few articles that are kind of speaking about that last point, in a conflicting manner. Some say you can use all of the attacks outside of focus mode, but it seems that more of them say that there are focus mode specific attacks. And a point I had missed a little bit above. So there is a wounding mechanic in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's a little similar to the tenderize mechanic in Iceborne, except you do not have to wound using a specific attack in your moveset. Wounding can be caused by any type of attack as long as you're focusing on a specific part. And then focus mode will have special attacks that deal higher damage to wounded parts. Yeah, here's a part of the interview that I found very interesting. So the interviewer asks the developers, or he kind of points out, hey, in like the most recent Monster Hunter games, like a ton of weapons have had parries added to their movesets, and this would radically change how a lot of weapons played. for instance, in the older Monster Hunter games, like I guess like Freedom Unite and Try, like instead of like just attacking really aggressively and standing wherever you want, you would kind of have to know where, like, hey, this is a safe place to stand and when, and then like you couldn't be too greedy because this would get you hit. But with the introduction of more parries, you could you could essentially just attack as much as you want and then bait an attack out and then protect yourself with that parry and then continue your counterattack. So yeah, so the pacing and aggressiveness has changed drastically in the more recent Monster Hunter games. It's felt like for a long time the parry weapon was Lance, my main weapon, and then suddenly with all the new defensive and parry mechanics they've added to the new weapons, suddenly the best parry weapon is now Longsword, because it can basically parry anything, including supers, like instant death supers that Lance cannot like block or defend itself from, and it can do this with like no armor skill points at all. It doesn't need guard, doesn't need guard up, doesn't need evade. It can just do it with basically no cost, and then its counterattack does like a jillion like damage. So yeah, the interviewer is just kind of pointing this out, and he's like, hey, is everything gonna have stuff like this? And is it gonna make everything, more similar in that direction? And so the devs kind of say, yeah, well, that didn't happen on purpose. So what they're trying to do in Wilds is they're trying to make every weapon feel unique and just have everything feel like a natural evolution of the pre-existing playstyle, which from the way the games have been handled in the past few iterations, you can tell that this is always their intention. They want everything to feel unique, and they want everything to feel like natural, like to the pre-existing moveset, but I will say that they're not always successful in doing this. Like, just like in the example I had given previously, they added so much horseshit to the longsword that like it can just do, it's basically like a super weapon, we may as well just be playing a game that's not Monster Hunter or something. Like longsword just plays its own game, and Lance has to work so much harder for its damage. Like I don't think they're always successful in giving weapons identities that are unique, and a lot of times it feels like they try to remake weapons, but they don't really succeed in making it viable. Like, I feel so sad for Gunlance players because it feels like the weapon gets basically it gets a extreme makeover like every generation, or even like just every other game, and then it somehow ends up just doing worse every time. But yeah, like I understand the spirit of what the devs are saying here. I'm just saying that like I'm really cautious because yeah, they don't always succeed here. Yeah, with Rise, they kind of borked the Lance by giving it charge sweep, and yeah, so the Lance is about like quick, like non-committal attacks, and always being able to like change what you're doing, use a different tool, things like that. But like being forced to use charge sweep, which is like neither fast nor accurate, just felt really gross to me as a Lance player. And then also having to spam like super attacks, like or wirebug arts, was just really lame. In that's just how you do damage in Rise and Sunbreak. Yeah, I just hated Spiral Thrust and how it felt. Like, yeah, man, like the whole point of Lance is you have the variety. You use your whole moveset instead of just spamming like your special attack over and over. Like, I really didn't like that. But yeah, like hopefully Monster Hunter Wilds doesn't have that issue. yeah, we've really yet to see if Hunter arts are going to make a return. There's a little bit of a hint that there are some moves in the trailers that look like Hunter arts, but of course the visuals on them are really, really downplayed, so we won't be able to really tell. Yeah, hopefully we can figure this out, like with more news, or like once we get our hands on a demo or something. Okay, here is the PlayStation blog. Here the devs explain that they received feedback on how some of the maps were difficult to navigate in the older games. They're probably just specifically like saying like Ancient Forest. You guys know, like I played World and Iceborne for like 1,300 hours, and I still get lost in the Ancient Forest map. It is not easy to navigate. And then it's also hard to just find monsters, like on certain maps. So, yeah, so they've definitely gotten that feedback, and hopefully they say they're design the maps in a way where that's going to be less of an issue. And then the sacred, your mount, your dinosaur bird dog thing, is going to help you track the monsters a lot more easily. Another thing they've improved on is item selection. This has definitely been an issue in the games lately, as far as I can tell. With World and Iceborne, they added the item wheel, which was absolutely fantastic. I thought that was great. But then in Rise and Sunbreak, you had like so many different item menus you have to maintenance at the same time. Like you had your regular items, you had your bowgun ammo, and then you had a special item command bar for like special items and commanding your dog and cat. Like it was just way too much for the interface. So hopefully they find a way to streamline this. But yeah, this is definitely something they say they have worked on, and I can't wait to see what they managed to do. Here's an article from RPG Site. I don't know if they specifically have an interview with the developers, but they were one of the people who were able to observe the hands-off demo from Summer Games Fest. Yeah, they report that Monster Hunter Wilds is actually not open world. It seems to behave similarly to Gen 5 maps, where they're large zones, but a lot more seamless. So I guess you can kind of treat it like, like the zones in like World and Iceborne, but you know, twice as big, and then you kind of seamlessly go in and out of hunts or missions, like the Guiding Lands. So yeah, there's probably not going to be a hub world, and then yeah, I think there are different camps you can go around, and then temporary camps that you have to maintenance, things like that. The article kind of compares it to zones like in Xenoblade, which, I played Xenoblade X, but I'm sure he's referring to the Chronicles games, which I haven't been able to play myself. Yeah, and the last interesting thing RPG Site reports is there is endemic life. Of course, you saw these all over the trailers. Things like birds and just different kinds of little animals running around. But they report that the supposed baby Puke, the little green bird that was flying around, he reports that it actually is an unrelated bird after closer inspection. Which I guess makes everyone terribly sad because I guess everyone loves babies, first of all, and then, well, I guess not. I shouldn't talk about that during this video. You know who they are. Anyway, yeah, that thing looks so much like a Puke, but yeah, he says if you look closer at it, it's something else, which, to be frank, like, he's just not providing a lot of evidence or explanation as to how it's unrelated. Like, he must have seen something. Of course, for me, it's like, hey, it doesn't have the Puke like suction tail the prehensile tail thing. So that was a little different, but yeah, it has like the exact wing shape and the exact face. So maybe he saw something different, like does it have a beak, like, or something. But yeah, I guess yeah, we'll just have to like A, get more footage, or B, get our hands on it and see. But yeah, man, yeah, F's in the chat for conceptual baby Pukei-Pukei. Yeah, so yeah, there's our first letdown, what you could say. Yeah, the game's not even out, it's already disappointing fans. Yeah, give us more baby animals. Like yeah, that's what we need in Monster Hunter. We need to see more like large monster life cycles. Yeah, let's see some eggs, let's see some adolescents, let's see some, yeah, obviously we're gonna be hunting the adult monsters, and then yeah, let's see some old age like apex monsters and shit like that. Yeah, that would be sick. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it for the details I've picked up from these articles. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of information here, and then a lot of Japanese dev formality speak. So yeah, they're just saying a lot of, yeah, we wanted it to be this way, we were trying to do this, we're trying our best. That type of stuff. That type of like really wishy-washy polite speak. So yeah, I'm just trying to cut through all the bullshit, and then I'm trying to report on like, hey, this would probably be really, well, this was really interesting to me. Hopefully you guys find it interesting. Yeah, I'm just trying not to overload you with a lot of really unimportant details, but yeah, hopefully we will get some more news soon. I believe we will have more stuff coming out during Gamescom, which is at the end of August. So yeah, we'll be sticking around for that. I'm going to be extraordinarily busy in August because we're going to be covering Gundam Breaker 4 and also Black Myth Wukong, like on the channel, among like all my other like projects and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a very exciting summer. So yeah, hopefully you guys stick around. And yeah, if you appreciated this video, you can leave a like. If you want to see future content, you can subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, hopefully you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.